Hi, I did a video last year, about a year ago, on Babesia and Lyme and the Buhner Protocol, and I was just sort of introducing myself. I don't remember, actually I should go back and listen to it, but I don't remember what exactly I covered, but I think I just laid out my basic situation, having Lyme, having had Lyme, probably I still have it, treating with antibiotics, treating with antiparasitics, and ultimately switching to the Buhner Protocol when I found out I had babesiosis, and that was one of the sort of the set of intractable symptoms, was probably being caused by Babesia, and so I started using the Buhner Protocol to treat for that. And I think at that point, I had my liver enzymes had started to spike, and I got nervous about it, and I laid off the protocol for a while. And I had done that once before. I'd done his Babesia protocol for a couple of months, felt much better, stopped for a couple of months, and felt crappy. And so I jumped back on it, but then later found that my liver enzymes were going through the roof. So I stopped, but I did, after that video, I did experiment, and I cut out Sida acuta. I thought that was one of the three main antimicrobial herbs, Cryptolepis, Sida acuta, and Alchornea cordifolia. I kind of suspected the Sida acuta, so I cut that out. And actually, come to think of it, I cut out both that and the Alchornea and just kept the Cryptolepis because I knew that was, likely effective, and it might just give me a safety net. And then I experimented once I cut out the Sida, experimented with pulsing the Cryptolepis, and my enzymes came down pretty immediately. It took a little while, it took a few months before they were back to normal. But so it's probably was the Sida, but it could have been the Alchornea. So this is just sort of a public service announcement to let you know that maybe, even though I know Buhner says that Sida acuta is liver protective, there's some issue there. And again, it could be the Alchornea as well. I don't know. Since then, though, I decided to just sort of taper off of all of them because I began to suspect that some of what's going on with me is related to digestion, which has been a little out of whack since 2 years of antibiotics. So what I really want to talk about is the dietary changes I made, because they have been provided the most benefit of anything except the initial courses of antibiotics. So as of now, as of 2 or 3 months ago, I haven't been taking Buhner herbs. My symptoms, which are mostly neck pain, head pressure and buzzing and weird like seizure-like symptoms at night and insomnia, all of that's stable, or was stable. It hasn't gotten worse since I stopped the herbs, and actually, as a result of switching to a ketogenic diet, it's really improved. A lot of things have improved that I didn't anticipate improving, like shoulder arthritis that was keeping me from working out fully, and just general overall inflammation is just dramatically reduced by the ketogenic diet. So this little short video now, is just to let people who were interested in tracking how the Buhner protocol works, just let them know that I did have these issues, but I would say my assessment of it, having gone through at least the Babesia protocol over, God, it must have been a year or so, mostly on it. It's helpful. It was helpful for me as far as I could tell. It seemed like I stopped it enough and felt symptoms come back, and then restarted it and felt symptoms diminish to feel like it was effective. But we're all in this situation where it's such a morass of different symptoms and different possible causes. There could be mold involved. There could be the Lyme still active. I'm really sort of, it seems like any scenario that I paste over as a template over my symptoms kind of makes sense. One thing I did finally figure out, and it took a long time of just tracking my symptoms. There's this whole aspect of hormonal imbalance in the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the adrenal gland. And I'm not an expert. I would definitely Google it to learn more, but I did, assume all along that I had adrenal fatigue just because of the insomnia, just waking up like I was jacked up on coffee in the middle of the night. I could see the cortisol was just spiking and things were out of whack. I used ashwagandha, and that really was effective in mellowing things out. But the other symptom that was sort of a telltale symptom for me was I would have to urinate, like get up to pee, like multiple times a night. And when things were really bad, when my head was really feeling the pressure and symptoms were flaring, that was one of the symptoms that I have to get up 3, 4, 5 times a night and pee a lot. And I'm sure I was dehydrated from that, and my electrolyte balance was off. But that, talking to a doctor friend of mine, and actually a few people, and doing a lot of online research, I found that that indicated this whole hormonal HPA axis was just out of whack. And so that's one thing that I think the ketogenic diet has really addressed, and I hadn't done it for that or expected that, but my kind of very, like without knowing a whole lot about this, I'm doing a lot of research, but I'm definitely not an expert. My theory is that as insulin came down, because I stopped eating a high carb diet, glucose came down, insulin came down, and insulin being this sort of master hormone, I've heard and read that it can kind of help to normalize other hormones. So I'm doing much better, not getting up at night to pee. I do occasionally have insomnia, and I do still take ashwagandha when I feel like that's a problem. I do still have some symptoms, but everything has been dialed down to a very tolerable level right now. And so I'm going to do another video after this on the ketogenic diet, and I'll recommend some resources on YouTube. It's mostly how I've been getting my information. There's some really good podcasts on YouTube to tell you way more than I can tell you. But this one right now is just to let you know I'm all for the Buhner Protocol, and it looks to me like the dietary changes are really necessary going forward. So whether I take the herbs in the future, I'm really not sure. One reservation I had about the cryptolepis, and one reason I stopped it, is because he never recommended taking it for longer than 2 months. Although I have heard him recommend at small doses for people who had found it was helpful, that there was no problem taking it long term. I've also heard that it can disrupt the gut biome, that you're just killing off bacteria, good bacteria in your gut. And that's what I began to suspect, that the antibiotics really sort of just nuked that whole, like ecosystem. And I really needed to build it back up, and that the cryptolepis would probably inhibit that. So go for it if you want to do the Buhner Protocol, and please contact me, comment, and I can tell you more of what I know about it. But go to Buhner's website, and you'll find probably everything you need to know. All right, thanks.